blue one.
Blue one?
Yeah.
Yeah. The first one that you tried on that was boring and lumpy, but that wasn't actually boring and lumpy, that one.
Yeah, which do you prefer?
I don't know, I'm actually starting to go mad.
Hello and welcome to the All Good Stories podcast, where we believe all good stories belong to Jesus. And when we look for Jesus in the stories around us, we find him more fully in our own. We're your hosts, Chris Bowden
and Simon Campbell, two millennial dads who love pop culture and making connections from the content we love to the God who loves us.
And in episode 23, we're going to be back in just a minute as we find the good stories in About Time. Hey there, Simon. Welcome to episode 23. I'm excited to be here with you, and I gotta admit right off the bat that I am coming in with some sort of upper respiratory infection because, you know, we're still in February in the state of Iowa.
We are. I'm just looking forward to more cough laughs that are classic Chris Bowden specials, and I'm here for it.
I weren't wheezy enough when we have a good laugh here in our podcast. I just get to encourage all that. But here we are, Simon, with our very first R-rated film for
Isn't that
the All
funny?
Good Stories podcast.
That's
of
funny.
all movies.
I didn't really even think about that as we were selecting this one. It doesn't really feel like an R-rated movie when you watch it, but yeah, kind of ironic that this is our first one that kind of delves into that.
Deadpool. It's not like something more aggressive. It's like, oh, this like romance story about time. How great.
Yeah.
And to be clear, we did have an original intent with this movie of thinking, oh, this could be great for Valentine's Day. And, you know,
and then life happened.
Yeah. And then we went, you know what? We should record another episode. And now it's the end of February. So happy belated Valentine's Day to all of you. We hope it was great. At the time that this come out, it might be March, you know? So we hope the romance in your life is doing great.
L for love. Good times.
So, Simon, right off the bat here, we're going to get into some quick facts about the movie About Time. And the first thing I would dive into, which I think is just fascinating, is that Rachel McAdams apparently has a thing for time travel. If you look back at her IMDb history of movies, she has not one, not two, not three, but 4 different movies that involve some sort of time travel. So let me take you on the ride.
Okay, I know 2 of them, but I don't know about the other 2.
Okay, so what are the 2 you think you know?
Well, this one and then Time Traveler's Wife, right?
Well done. That's right. So you've got The Time Traveler's Wife in 2009. Then you got Midnight in Paris in 2011, where the protagonist, Owen Wilson's character in that movie, he like mysteriously journeys to the past each night, right? So while her character isn't involved, it's like, oh, this is an element. And then, of course, you have this movie About Time in 2013. So those are all like back to back to back. And then you wait just a little while, and you get to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Here we go. Okay.
Yeah,
right.
so whether that's, you know, I guess you get 2 even in there. You could technically say 5. You get Doctor Strange and then Doctor Strange 2.
Each of those are pretty different in their genres, and I suppose Time Traveler's Wife and About Time are somewhat in a similar vein, but still, like they're kind of all in a different genre. That's kind of funny.
That's right. One
of
those
good thread to pull. Yeah.
The
good
more
job.
you know.
Yeah, good job.
And so then we look at the box office for this particular movie, and this made domestically $15 million at the box office. So, you know, sure. But internationally made $71 million. Yeah. So the American box office was really not at all interested in this movie, but a lot of other people were.
Well, it's a British film, so...
That makes sense. The production budget of this movie is about $12 million. So if you compare the 12 to, 15 and 71, my goodness, that's great. This movie did just fine for where it was at.
Sure.
And then for its ratings, it came in at 71% for the critic score, and the audience loved it just a little bit more at 82%, which is not super surprising to me. I think there's a lot to love in this movie, but I could definitely see how the critic's eye knocks that down a few pegs compared to the audience, where I would assume if you're into this movie, if you've seen it, it's probably a pretty beloved one. It's one that's definitely going to pull on your heartstrings and sentiment in a really, really good way, which I'm sure we'll get into.
Oh, yeah. No, I think this is one that stands up to multiple viewings, and I just know that this is kind of one of my quick quick recommendations for, especially like a couples movie or whatever, of something that's kind of fun to watch and that appeals to a wide audience of people. Like you don't have to be into time travel, and you don't have to be all in on rom-coms to appreciate this movie. So I just think there's a lot here, and it's just a good movie overall. So it's a quick recommendation for me.
Yeah, that's a really good way to describe that. I had not seen this movie going into it, and so my wife and I had the chance to watch it, per your recommendation.
Yeah.
Coming out of this, we were thinking about, what movies could we do, and sat and watched it. And I very quickly started this movie, went, oh, I know exactly why Simon likes this movie. Like, I could kind of catch the vibe already, and you're right. It is really, really good. So I'm excited to talk about it. So Simon, as you mentioned, this is a British movie. And so, I don't know, there might be a chance that some of those red-blooded Americans out there might not have seen About Time. So if you fall into that camp, Simon, give us a quick rundown, quick synopsis of About Time.
About Time is a romantic drama with a twist that one might call timeless. The story follows Tim Lake, who discovers from his father, who always seems to have time on his hands, that men in their family have the ability to travel back in time within their own lives. Tim determines that he will use this gift to improve his romantic prospects and uses this newfound ability to win the heart of Mary. However, he soon realizes that time travel can't solve everything, especially when it comes to love, family, and inevitable changes and challenges. This film tells a poignant lesson that life isn't about perfect timing. It's about cherishing the time you have.
All right, Simon, time to do what is a new segment for us in 2025 called Rent-Free Replay. An opportunity for us to talk about some moments that live rent-free in our heads with us or with our families from this movie. What are moments that you've just held on to, carried with you? Maybe they become quotable. And if you have some moments like this for yourself or with your family, we'd love to hear about them too.
Yeah, and I think that for this one, we've watched this movie a number of times. It's been kind of like one that we'll return to from time to time. But there are just some really precious moments in it. Less of like quotable moments as far as that goes, but like memorable ones for me. Like one of the ones that stands out to me for sure is Tim's father's best man speech. When he comes and does it again. It's just like they're just one like those moments and with Uncle Desmond and stuff kind of receiving the love, like for a British audience, like very effusive, evocative, like
are you saying that the British aren't great with their feelings, Simon?
No,
is that
that's
what you're trying
that's
to
why,
tell people?
That's why it's a big deal. Like,
right.
He's like, I'd rather let myself down. I hugged him, like, or whatever. Like they're very more closed off emotionally. So I think for me that's a really, that's a favorite moment. And then this was a little bit more of a non sequitur, but like when Tim is reattempting to meet Mary again after he's met her the first time and is poorly trying to set this up and has to start over again, like, and go off and time travel and then try again. There's one excuse that he has where he says, never trust a blueberry, because he's like claiming indigestion. And he had like this muffin and, I'm sorry, I have to go. Never trust a blueberry. I just like, that's such a great little line and little nugget to put in there.
Yeah, that's so good. In a similar way, I wouldn't say there are any particular like big quotes that probably live rent free for me here.
Yeah.
But definitely moments. And one for me was this perfect scene. It was so thoughtfully made where it's the dark scene in the cafe. Or the restaurant when Mary is meeting Tim for the very first time, and it's all dark. You can get this entire dialogue of them going back and forth and see the time ticking by, and it is a dark screen for a fair amount of screen time.
It's great.
It's really impressive. But the catch is that they ruin that scene for me because Tim ruins it and it no longer exists, and that just like. Oh, it just kills my heart. Even when I think back to that scene, it just like hurts me.
Yeah,
because I know
like
it didn't end up in their real life
first
story.
Meeting didn't happen, right? Yeah.
Yes, I'm like, oh, that's awful. How dare you! So I hate that aspect, but the scene itself was so cute and so good. It immediately just attached you to like their potential as a couple and their relationship. It just clicks in a really good way.
Yeah.
Another one for me is just Dad's vibe overall in general. Like Bill Nye's vibe is so good. He's so chill. Like go figure, he's got all the time in the world. But that family vibe, that kind of like just in general of them as a group is so great. It's just this eclectic, like British eccentric vibe, or eclectic is maybe a better word. Where it's like, oh, they have tea on the beach. They have movie nights. When you get to the wedding, it's this eclectic combination of elements and colors. And this Italian song as Mary walks down the aisle.
That Italian song is great. It's a great...
It really does work.
Wow.
And she's wearing a red dress, not a white dress. Like it just has that certain eclectic energy to it that feels very European, but then like a particular sect of like British, where I'm like, at least 3 people in that family knit, you know? It's like, it's so good. And I like living in that for this movie.
Those are good moments to run back to, and that's what makes this movie watchable again. I would say like that's really what makes it replayable as a whole, is some of those moments that you were just talking about.
Those moments are great. They're part of the magic of this movie about time. But really what we're here to do is talk about what moments or what elements in this movie uniquely belong to Jesus. Where can we see God's story, his narrative? Where can we see comparison and contrast to what God's doing? And relate this back to some spiritual conversations in our lives. So Simon, right off the bat, what do you think uniquely belongs to Jesus?
I think one of the conversations that comes up right away on this is like the idea of what to do with this gift that you've been given. And I think that that's an area that can belong to Jesus, because even one of the early conversations, because I love how they waste no time, like kind of setting up the premise, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, this is the twist of the is the twist of the movie, so efficiently. And you're
done. Like, I'm in. The way that they present that too is so clear, and I appreciate so much the rules involved with time travel. Anytime you get into a time travel movie, you're like, oh no, what am I going to have to remember?
It's very clear.
What are we going to have to screw up? Where's the butterfly effect? You know, and
it doesn't feel it doesn't feel sci-fi at all. It just feels very like it
super
feels
accessible.
Yes, it feels very natural almost. Yeah, and I think one of the things that is a great moment is when he's sitting down with his father talking the first time, and they're kind of like big. Oh, this is a big revelation, like so, and Tim asks his father, so what have you done with it? And like that's what the conversation starts like. So you have this thing, like, what have you done with it? And I think it's such a great way to set up that conversation. And they kind of talk through the different men of their family of like how they've messed that up. And I think that
which is what a great like hint at family history and different types of stories and things that we never get into, but it is very cool hints there.
Yeah, you don't need to have the picture painted for you. You get a chance to just like in the context of this conversation get that. And so I think what belongs to Jesus here is that it matters what you do with what you've been given. And so like even just from the outset, you know, Tim decides in the context of that conversation, he's like, you know, I just needed to help me get a girlfriend, you know, like he decides from that moment.
The mothership.
Yeah. Well, yes, the mother. Yes. And the dad. Yes. That's so great. You know, so that's what he decides on. And like, they kind of go through like, well, money would be the obvious one. Oh, no. And the father like steers him off like, oh no, I've never really met a genuinely happy rich man, you know, like, and talks about how that's utterly ruined one of his relatives' lives by using the gift that way and all that kind of stuff. So I think for me though, when we talk about Tim's application of this, like romantic love, like it gets us part of the way there. But I think just the idea of using it out of love, not romantic love, but for love of God. Like if we talk about this, like you don't have to be a time traveler to say, well, how am I going to use this gift of time? Right. That's the opportunity. Like that's the whole point of the movie kind of is like, because it doesn't feel like a super natural movie, like a sci-fi movie, like this is a very approachable and effective and accessible lesson that we can access. And so rather than using it for romantic love, you know, if we use our time out of love for God and take that lesson one step further, then we can use it for the things that will make our lives the way God wants it to be. Because that's the answer that his father says, like, well, this is the big one. You use it for the things that you think will really make your life the way you want it to be. But our opportunity, and when we think about the gift of time that we've been given, is how can we use our time that will make life the way God wants it to be. And that's where we're going to find true happiness.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was heading in this too, was like making the most of every opportunity. It's Ephesians 15.
That's so good. That's so good.
If you jump in there, it's like be very careful then how you live. Mm-hmm. Not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity because the days are evil. And I was just like, man, does that not paint the picture right there? Because Tim starts this journey focused on stuff for himself, right? Like trying to figure out like how I get a girlfriend, or I messed this up. I got to fix this scenario, right? But then he develops, right? We see that progression over the movie where he continues to learn lessons from his father. And at the end says, hey, I took that another step forward, right? Which is, I think, ultimately where we want to land, where he says, I don't even go back at all anymore. Yeah. He says he's learned to make the most of those moments here and now in the present. He's learned how to live that way now, which I think we all have a deep desire to do.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
We all have this desire to live in the present moment, to be fully present with people, to appreciate the world around us. And I really do think that the Holy Spirit plays a pretty big role in our ability to do that.
Absolutely.
I'm really only able, I find, usually able to put myself in a space like that when my relationship with Jesus is healthy. Like that's usually a pretty good gauge of my spiritual health, is going to be my ability to be present with the people I care most about. Yes. And am I able to slow down and appreciate what's around me? One of my favorite scenes in this movie is when he's talking about his dad teaching him to go back and live your day again. Yeah. When you see him do that throughout his day in the coffee shop with the montage, gal behind the counter. Yeah. Mm-hmm. When they're running through the atrium to the court case is one of my favorites, where he stops and he goes, "Isn't this a beautiful lobby?" And Rory's just like, what are you talking about? Yeah. Right. And just to keep going. Right. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, that's the way I want to live my life. Like I love being able to pause and just catch these beautiful moments in the beauty of what the world is in our everyday lives.
Yeah. And I think, go ahead. Yeah. I think he even just says, like, just notice how sweet life can be, I think is one of the lines from there. And I think that is the state of mind that we all want to get to. And I think that that's like one of the things that we see resonate in terms of like embracing the beauty of what God has given us and embracing that gift of life and of time. Like I think that's a very biblical thing. But yeah, it's so laid out in a unique way in this movie. I think it makes it really accessible.
Yeah. And I think the other side of this is really like this element of control. We all tend to feel, and I think Tim feels at different moments earlier on in the movie, where he is really just trying to control some of these moments. What drove me nuts in this movie, which I started to feel weird, was when he tried to re-meet Mary. It felt so controlling or manipulative of trying to like make this thing happen again, where I was like, this is gross, right? I'm like, is the tension going to be that she finds out that he can do this, and she's like, what, you just manipulated me into a relationship with you? Like, I'm like, is this the conflict that's going to show up here? And thankfully not. Like that, that'd have been exhausting. I don't think that'd have been as good of a movie. But for me, there's just this control element that I think we all feel, especially in regards to our time or moments. And it made me think of Ecclesiastes 3 from Solomon, where there's a time for everything. And it's just about trusting God rather than trying to control all this time. Like there's a time for everything. There's a season for every activity under the heavens. And so it's just saying, like, God's got all of these seasons, all of these moments. He's the one you can trust with what's happening now, what's in your present, what's in your future. You just got to be able to relieve some of that control back into God's hands for what it is that he wants to do in the season that you're in.
Well, I think even at the end of that passage, it says something about like God has made everything beautiful in its time.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think that part of that is really powerful for like understanding that when you do believe that and take the lesson from that part of scripture of saying like there's a time for everything, like this is a gift from God. It's a gift from God to like do our day to day, to toil, to reap the benefits of our work, to eat and drink, whatever, all the other things that passage lists.
Yeah.
Like then that's when you can understand that all of this is a gift from God, and even the mundane, even the time, like because all of those things, there's a time for this and this, and like these are very like everyday things. All of those things are a gift. Even the passage that you brought up from Ephesians, like that's one of the ones on my like monitor at work, and
that's
of like
cool.
having the look carefully at how you walk, not as unwise but as wise, making best use of the time. But my scribble makes it says because the days, but it makes it look like because Tuesdays are evil. So every time I just kind of laughed. Somebody came in and asked what's wrong with Tuesdays? Like
that was me, by the way.
Oh, it was. I forgot that was you.
Hey, dude, what's wrong with Tuesdays?
Because Tuesdays are evil. Yeah, man. Tuesdays were tough in Ephesus.
I think what's connected to this here, even as just been talking about it, is one that I caught of just to the value of the present moment. It was Matthew 6:34 of like, hey, therefore don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has trouble of its own. And in different points of the movie, I felt incredibly anxious for Tim because he's going to screw up the life that he already has in a lot of ways. Like there's moments where it's like meeting Mary. Oh, dude. Screwed that one up. Best of intentions screwed that one up. And then this moment with his daughter, where his daughter gets replaced by a different kid. Yeah. I mean, this has turned into a horror movie for me for about like 30 seconds of time.
See,
I was like,
and that's so funny to me that you experienced all of those with such anxiety. Like I feel the embarrassment of those moments.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not like concerned that he's gonna like mess this up. I
absolutely had that fear going in.
So
I was
funny.
Maybe I've just been watching too much dark television, but like I'm just waiting for everything to have like this dark twist. I'm like, no, you ruined it.
And it's hard for me to remember what it was like watching the movie for the first time when I didn't know what was going to happen. You know what I mean?
Super interesting. Yeah.
Because it's been such a long time since my first viewing of this that, like, I'm guessing maybe I would have been a little bit more angsty about it. But that's so funny.
Oh man, this was not a good time for me to maybe have that scene with the daughter because I mean, I've got a 2-year-old at home, right? And I love her so much. And if something were to happen that I knew I did, and I come back and it's like a different kid than my daughter, I just like I could empathize way too much with whatever that scene was. I was like, I gotta shake this off. This is bad. I don't like this at all.
Yes. Just like where you have to like unconvince yourself that there's any remote possibility that this could happen. You know what I mean? That this could actually happen.
As you say that now, I realize just how ridiculous my worry is.
Well,
you know?
Right. Like, but you have to. But it is like I remember like when you get really into a movie, not necessarily this one, but others that you have to be like, oh yeah, but that's just a movie. This is not actually. This is not actually possible. You know.
Yeah, see how connected I was to this content, Simon. Just shows how good it really was. You're just recommend it. I was all in.
He's all in.
But the point for me is like, man, how often can we get in our own way of like trying to make moments or trying to control what's in front of us or trying to make or fix these moments when it's like sometimes the beauty is the fact that the moments don't work out. Sometimes the beauty is that you're going to trip over the shoes walking into a room, right? Those create memories of their own. And so I just like, hey, just don't worry so much about tomorrow. I mean, it's just, it's in the Bible, you know, like easy to say, hard to do, but like, we so often get in our own way just trying to control all those things.
And I think he moves more and more to that, like once he embraces the true reality of this gift and moves on and like learns the secret of his father and takes it one step further.
Yes.
Like he does move more towards like he's not moving towards more control, using his gift for more control. He's actually using for less, you know.
Yes, the energy that he has in that scene doing breakfast with his 3 kids is perfect. It's a great embodiment of that.
Yeah, he's using it for less, and he's not actually being more worried about the outcomes or whatever. He's actually worrying about it less, you know. So I think that I think that the way that this gift is applied throughout the movie, and then the lessons that he's learning from it, are just super applicable in terms of like, and gives us a unique opportunity because it allows us to look at time differently, because it's in the context of this story where time has different rules. Like, so we're able to see some of the realities of maybe our own life through a very like kind of depiction of a pretty normal life, normal family relationship kind of stuff, with this little twist that allows us to see time differently and can maybe help us unlock and realize how we can use that gift differently in many ways, more in line with how God wants us to. I think so. There's just some good opportunities here. And I know you talked about this earlier, but like the idea that he can't use this gift to fix everything, to like manipulate everything, to like smooth everything out. Like, and I think that that's really relatable and important. And I think this is an area that belongs to Jesus, because we recognize, like, the lesson that's learned here is that you can't fix people. Like, we have a lot of ability even without time travel. We have considerable abilities to like shape our environments and do things and use our relationship and influence. But if we've ever been with someone like his sister Kit Kat in this movie is experiencing some true struggle and is caught in a pattern, that is something that any amount of control or manipulation you can't fix.
You could desperately want something different for them, but in the end it's not up to you. Mary says it really clearly. It's like, I think this is something she's going to have to fix on her own or discover for herself.
And I think the area that belongs to Jesus there is like, God is the only one that can do that. And oftentimes what happens is God ends up making the same choice that Tim ends up doing, is he lets the accident happen, right? To Kit Kat.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
He lets the natural consequences of the choice that she's making happen. And in Romans 1, there's a passage that talks about God gives, we're talking about human nature and sin nature, that God gives humans over to their desires. And in a way that's, giving ourselves over to the natural consequences of rejecting the truth that he has laid before us. Right. That's what that chapter in Romans is about. But balanced with this is something that happens later in Romans, and in Romans 8, where God uses all things for good for those who love him and called according to his purpose. And so, even though we have those moments where God allows those things to happen and allows us to experience the consequences of our rebellion, like he's going to do that only out of our good, so that he might lead us to repentance. So actually some of those things of allowing those consequences to happen can be a kindness that leads us to repentance. Yeah,
you and I are just wrapping up a season in our church lives of walking through the book of Amos, right? And so you see that in a very different way. But God essentially tears down the entire people of Israel. He's like, y'all have jacked this up. Like, this is a mess. You're no different than anyone else.
Some natural consequences,
right?
right?
He goes, I have to do something about this. Like, I can't build my kingdom off of whatever it is that you're doing right now. So I got to tear this thing down. And we got to have an opportunity to go in a different direction. And we bring Jesus into the picture some 400 years later to start this new journey. But just like, oh, hey, there's another example of God being like, we can't work with this. We gotta change this. And what I love represented in this movie, I think, really is the superpower that we can have in our relationships, which is just the value of presence, particularly in Kit Kat's story, where what do they do after the accident?
They're just sitting there.
They just sit. And they just stay. And they're present. And they say, we're not going. We're not going. We're not leaving. We're not leaving you.
That's kind of like what we would talk about, like sitting on the fire with somebody. Like, you're sitting in it. You're in the heart with them. Yeah,
yes,
you're in the
that's
heart.
exactly right.
You're sharing that hard space with them.
It's what empathy is designed to be, right? Yeah. Like, I don't understand what you're going through, but I can be here in you, here in that with you, and be present with you as you're going through that.
Yeah.
And really, that's all we need. I think a lot of times we feel like we have to do something. We have to manufacture something. We have to try and make it better. It's like, we can't do that. The best gift you can give someone is your presence.
Yep.
To communicate, you can care. Sometimes just by not doing anything, you know?
Yeah.
And what a challenge that can be for us when we have such an inclination.
It's just staying in it. Yep. And staying in it and weathering it with somebody in that. Like, because all of those things, and it's the antithesis of what he did the first time of trying to use his gift to control this, and literally took his sister back in time to like right this wrong, or like, avoid meeting this guy. And then
back to his dad saying, I never said you could fix things. I very specifically said we could never fix things.
I love the little Jesus mention that gets in there of
it's flawless. It's so great. Look at Jesus. He's the Son of God, for God's sake. And look how that turned out.
Life is a mixed bag. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
No matter who you are. Yeah. And that's so well stated in there. And I think it's one of those moments where we recognize that we can't fix it. And at the end of it, he ends up spending way more time, like waiting and waiting. Like, ironically, the guy who can time travel is just stuck waiting.
Yeah.
The guy who can control things in the past, to some extent, is stuck, like, not in control and just having to sit in that hard with his sister. You know, it's cool. I think it's a cool moment.
The last thing that belongs to Jesus for me really is this idea. I'm just going to call the headline, "We vanish." I think the movie is best summed up in James 4:13 through 15. And it goes like this. Now listen, you who say, today or tomorrow, we'll go to this or that city, we'll spend a year there, carry on business, and make money. Why? You do not even know what will happen tomorrow. What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. Instead, you ought to say, if it is the Lord's will, we will live and do this or that. And man, if I just didn't get absolutely arrested by, what is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. The moment for me that made me think of was the dad reveals that you can't go back beyond when a child is born, right? There's some biological stuff going on that's going to make this a problem. And the great time travel rules, by the way, like way to tamp that one down. That's so good. Yeah. And so since he has to like go from this point forward and know that the past is lost, it's gone. He says, just like for everyone else. Yep. Right. And so eventually
saying yes to the future of his future children is saying goodbye to the past. Yeah.
Such a good line. It's that's a beautiful, like, poetry. So great. Yeah. And then, eventually he has to let go and lose his father as well. And so what it made me think of was this book by Pete Scazzero called Emotionally Healthy Spirituality. And it has 5 big, like, promises of your life. And those are, your life will be hard. You are not in control. Your life is not about you. You are not that important. And you are going to die. Let that be an encouragement for all you out there.
Yikes.
And I just those make me so happy. I love all of those so much. Maybe it's like a little, again, part of my dark sense of humor, but I love how sobering those are in such like a healthy way for me, because I look and I go, guys, that is exactly what life is. That, like, you could not say it more clearly. It's just a very negative lens to view it through in its wording. But for me, it makes me so happy. It's like, you're going to die. Like, how freeing is it to face the reality that you're going to die? You know, like,
I'm not sure where you're going with this, but
buckle up, homie. I get very passionate about this because I think sometimes we get caught in the fear of like, what is tomorrow going to bring? What is going to happen?
Yeah.
What do
Jesus,
I need to control?
Jesus says, what if, which of you can add 1 hour to your life by
That's
worrying?
right. That's exactly right. And so knowing and facing this reality, or having some sort of peace about the fact that, hey, the past is lost. Somewhere in scripture talks about like, stop worrying about that, right? Like that's back there. Yep. Keep moving forward. I'm doing a new thing. Let's go. And saying like, you're going to die someday. Like, it sounds funny to say out loud, you know, because I don't really know why, but
I actually heard you say, it makes me so happy to say that.
It does. It really does. Because let's face the reality, right? Yeah. Like, I'm going to die and that's going to be great because I get to be with Jesus because I believe in Jesus. You know, like that's a good thing.
To live is Christ, to die is gain.
Yeah, right. And so I don't know. That has always been an encouragement to me that I think I see represented in this movie of like, there's this like letting go. There's this process of coming to face with the reality of how the world works. You can't control this either, right? It's a little bit of like processing through the grief of that in order to then be free on the other side. So maybe I've just bummed everybody out.
No,
maybe that's me in my kind of dark world over
I was
here.
just poking a little bit to see what would come out. It's great.
Oh man,
it's
but
great.
I will run back to those all the time. Like, hey, your life will be hard. I'm like, yes, it will. You are not in control. No, I am not.
Yeah.
Your life's not about you. No, it's not. Such a good reminder. You're not that important.
Yeah.
And you're going to die.
There's something good about being able to say the worst, and then the worst thing that could happen, right, is all of those things. And then just realizing that, like, even if all of those things happen and life is hard and all that stuff, like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And there's comfort in being able to say the worst and know that it's all right.
All right, Simon, now it's time for some Love It or Leave It, an opportunity for us to talk about what we loved and what we could have done without along the way, and hear how the other person feels about all that.
I don't have as much as I do for most of our movies, but I think there are some good ones in here. The first one for me, Love It or Leave It. So here's my take. The Truly Blind Date was one of the most unique introductions in a romantic drama or a rom-com, and was the best possible way they could have met in this movie.
Oh, I 100% agree. So I'm going to love that, with the exception of, I don't know how many rom-coms you've seen, because they're all ridiculous. The way people meet in these are insane. Like
but in terms of like the classic meet cute kind of things, like some of those are so tired and so frustrating.
Do you think it's
dumb.
Better than
this is so good?
While You Were Sleeping, where she has to save him from an oncoming train car.
100. It's 100% better, and I love that movie. I love that movie.
Oh, it's a good one, and that's when we're like, that's a pretty good setup. That's a pretty good. She just saves life, gets in a coma. The story goes from there. But I'd say it's better than that one. I think the scene is so endearing. The scene is so cute. The only part that I would say leave it is the reality that
there's you that like with the time travel.
It doesn't exist. It's not real.
It doesn't happen.
He's robbed them of it. It's gone forever. So I got to leave that still. I'm just
how much of angst. Because he's redone these things. How much of your relationship is a lie? You know, like
there is like a certain manipulative quality to that with their relationship that does make me go, a little dicey, but that scene is so good. Like, that's probably where the movie started to click for me. I thought the vibe between him and Dad was already going to be good. I'm like, I'm here for that. But then when they actually started to introduce the love interest here, I was like, oh, okay, we're cooking with something. That's pretty awesome.
And I actually think there's a line in one of the songs. I looked this up, and this is something that you completely miss if you don't literally Google it, because it's not in the subtitles. It's not anything. But there's a line in one of the songs that I think totally changes kind of some of what you just said. So it's the "Into My Arms, O Lord" song. Like, do you remember that? It's like it's one of the montage things, kind of around when his dad is dealing with stuff. But anyway, here's the lyrics. I don't believe in an interventionist God, but I know, darling, that you do. But if I did, I would kneel down and ask him not to intervene when it came to you. Will not to touch a hair on your head, leave you as you are, if he felt he had to direct you into my arms.
Oh, how romantic. So what's that? What do you take away from that then?
So I think it's talking about like not wanting to control, but like if he believed, if you believe in God who is active in our life and is moving, that like he would want that love to be authentic, you know, and that only and you see what I'm saying? And like I think that's a very God thing. Like God uses our free will because he wants our love to be true. And in the same, like, just the fact that song exists in there, it's just really, really buried in there.
Yeah, there's like an undertone of that, of what's kind of coming through, and like the freedom that's developing there and the way that Tim's moving through his life. I can see that. Yeah.
So I think that's the desire. I don't think that we're supposed to feel any of that sort of manipulation. I think you could totally make this movie differently and absolutely make this gift that manipulates and makes that whole relationship a lie.
Oh yeah.
But I think like because of the way it's portrayed and the way it's used, we're actually supposed to believe that like this is the only thing that he would want to be like not tainted or manipulated.
I think what made this movie work is that we did not spend time traversing into what could have been the relational drama of Mary finding out that he could time travel. Like, it set a certain precedent, like knowing that his mom doesn't know. And there's a little bit of part of it, it's like, your most significant person in your life doesn't know this huge part about you. Like, there's a little bit of conflict for me there. But for the sake of this movie, I just love that was not a part of the story. I think what made it work so well was that we never had to go into that whole realm of a conflict between the two of them knowing this reality.
Yeah, there's no like breaking down of that barrier, that wall, and it doesn't really create a barrier between them, right? It's something that he uses to love her more. You know, like I think that's what makes it good. That's why you could watch it again. I don't think I could stand watching that conflict like over and over again.
No, that'd be tough.
Yeah, I love that. The episode, like that moment where he entertains his initial love interest, Margot Robbie's character.
Yeah.
And he goes back to like kind of like try to read it, like discover if there's something there when they meet up years later and he's with Mary. Yeah. That part infuriates me. I get mad every time. And I'm just like, I wish there was some kind of consequence or some kind of like coming clean with him. Cause like that makes me way more mad than any of like the pseudo manipulation of his relationship with Mary. But just like he went to dinner, like he did the thing. You know what I mean? Like
it's kinda, like it treads that line, right? Like I get the tension that they're building here. And I felt it in that scene. I'm like,
he knows, even though he has time travel and could just go back, like he knows that, like y'all know, everyone knows, everyone in this movie watching this movie knows that that's wrong.
Yeah, so they built the right tension. Hey, the story did exactly what it was supposed to do with you.
But I wish that there was like just part of me is like, and it would have been better if there was some consequence to that.
Yeah, because I think the tough part is, you're asking me to marry you because of this other like questionable moment that you had that made you realize. I'm like, don't ask to marry me because of that, right? That's not a good motivation in this moment. A little icky. Yeah, a little icky. I'd leave that too. I wish there was a little bit something a little more thoughtful coming out of that.
When you put that all on paper and it's like, the same night that you decide not to have an affair, you decide to propose. Like,
you can't
put
take
that down on paper. That's not
okay. Good.
Kind of gross.
Good, man.
That's
glad
great.
that step is what it took for you to know you love her. All
right. Good job.
Yeah. I think Mom is the low-key MVP of this movie.
She's a great character.
What a great character. The bluntness of her. And I feel like I know people like that, right? Where it's still loving, but not in a way that's traditional, right? That's so...
it's not pandering. It's not pandering at all.
No.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
No. The fact that she's like, hey, tell me your biggest weaknesses, right? And she's sincere. And she's like, great. Absolutely. Totally get that. You know. And Rachel McAdams, Mary, so clever of saying, well, I have a weakness for your son. She's like, oh, me too. But don't let him know. Don't let him get cocky.
Yeah. One of the best written lines and the best delivered lines of the whole movie is when they're coming back and got the news about his dad, and she just says, I am just completely uninterested in a life without your father.
Beautiful.
Like, that's one of the best written lines, best delivered lines in the movie.
It is so good. Because she thinks she is, I'm effing furious, is what she says. And I'm like, that's great. It's, credit to the writers there. As perfect.
Yeah, it is great. Love it or leave it, this take, Rory is the best extraneous character in this movie. Like the best, he's not necessary to the plot per se.
Yeah.
But just like the best extraneous character.
I think I'd probably have to leave that just because he does not stand out to me compared to all the others.
Okay. Then my second one, because I laid a trap for you.
It's a trap!
So if you had said love it to that one, I have another one. So love it or leave it, Uncle Desmond is the best extraneous character in the movie.
Was saying, like, it's Uncle Desmond. I don't know why you would pick Rory, because Uncle D is the best extraneous character.
Well, just sometimes
it's like between him and Mom. I mean, honestly, that's the two of them that really makes some magic for me.
You're just like, you're such a generally supportive and agreeable person, is that a lot of times I feel like we just end up loving loving each other's takes. So I kind of wanted to.
You're trying to create some conflict. I see.
I
what
was
you're
just
doing
trying
here.
to create
You're
some
laying
tension
a
here.
Trap, you monster. Because I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I was like, and that's the point of his character, the most unmemorable, awkward. You know, I was like, "Oh, he's doing his job." Because I'm like, "No, I don't know what you're doing here." Because it's Uncle D, it's Uncle Desmond.
It's Uncle Desmond.
Yeah. Because at first I was like, I can't figure out what his thing is, right? They said he was like the least charming, guy, and I was like, what? Oh, okay. And there's a magic to it. It really works. But
it's
by
very
about
endearing.
It's 2/3 of the way through, I was like, yeah, endearing is the right way to say it. And the way he talks about like the cancer diagnosis of Dad, of like pulling back to his best man speech that he went back and did, saying, he said, "He loved me, the best day of my life. This is probably the worst day of my life." I was like, oh, so nice. So good.
It is great. Just kind of understated all the way through, but just very good. Okay,
here's my last one. I think one of the most magical elements hiding in this movie is that we get the reunion of the Pirates of the Caribbean's greatest villains.
Hold up. What?
Yes, I was really hoping this would be news. Okay, so you get Davy Jones, played by Bill Nighy from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Okay, yes.
With Lord Cutler Beckett, who's played by Tom Hollander, who's Harry. And he's like this family friend. And so Pirates of the Caribbean, those movies came out like 2006.
From the East India Trading Company.
Yes! 2006, 2007. And then in 2013, you get this movie. So those movies have happened. And then somehow in this romantic comedy.
I completely missed that. That's so great. The Pirates of the Caribbean, because Bill Nighy is like unrecognizable in his role,
Gosh,
but yes, just so funny,
man. Still, Davy Jones, one of my all-time favorite characters. I'm not going to miss an opportunity to pull that reference.
Do you not fear death?
And
wow!
As soon as Tom Hollander came on screen, I went, "Where do I know you? How do I know you?" Very iconic. The first line, he says throwing F-bombs out right at the door. First line, he gets out there.
We're going to have to do Pirates of the Caribbean, because I just feel like that's that's a love for you.
Dude, you get me into pirate territory. You got to be careful. Like, we could really have a time.
Okay. All right.
That was magic for me. That was great.
That's awesome. All right, the last love it or leave it for me is the last scene with his dad, when they go back and have the day at the beach, is the perfect moment to end this movie. But it partially is ruined in my own mind, because I'm wondering, does that break the time travel implications? Like, does that break the rules? Like, my mind wants to go there, and it kind of ruins the moment for me.
Yeah, Mr. Sci-Fi trying to think out the rules. Yeah, surprise. Yeah,
because he goes back before the kids are born, and like he says, well, technically they don't change anything, but then he's like, okay, well, if you don't change anything, why couldn't you just go back and play ping pong with your dad anytime you want, right? So
well, that is a very good thought. That's right. If you're just staying in that room playing ping pong,
I almost hesitate to even say anything, because I love this movie so much. Like,
don't worry, you're not going to rip it all apart in this one line here. I mean,
but why do I have to? I wish I didn't have to think that, because I would like to just leave that moment as it is. I would, because it's just a perfect moment.
Well, let's just say I leave it and say that's stupid. Don't worry about it.
Thank you. That's what I need to hear from you.
Yeah, let me say that for you. Yeah, leave it, Simon.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry if I just ruined that, or like broke the glass on that, shattered the glass for everybody on that one.
I feel like what you're saying is valid, and for the sake of the movie and the moment, we got to leave it. We got to let it go. Because I would agree, it doesn't follow the rules. He even says we're breaking the rules. Let's just say it's fine. It turns out fine. We see that it's fine.
Yeah, it's good. It's a great ending.
Well, Simon, all good things must come to an end, including this episode.
Thanks again for joining us for episode 23, and we hope that this has been a fun time for you. But our greatest desire always is that this is doing for you what it's doing for us, shaping the way we watch movies and sparking spiritual conversations around them.
And we would love to keep the conversation going with you, because we know there's all sorts of other good stories out there in About Time. Man, there's so many good layers and nuances here that we just simply do not have time to talk about here. And so we'd love to hear more about them from you, especially in a time traveling movie. Maybe there's something you've caught. Maybe you have something to come back on. Maybe you're also absolutely anxious about this movie and help support me in this here. Whatever it may be, you can track us down on all of the socials, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook. And we just love to connect with you and keep the conversation going and learning from you.
And remember, all good stories belong to Jesus.
And if you choose to give your story to Jesus, you can be sure he'll make it a good one.